Hi everyone, in this video we are going to talk about consent categories and how to use this feature and take full advantage of it. Originally, consent categories was a solution specifically for privacy compliance, but we'll talk today about just more general data governance use cases as well. But keep in mind that those two use cases will overlap a little bit. And there are tons of other applications within the privacy compliance sphere that we'll learn about in other videos and training in addition to consent categories. But today it's all about consent categories, and we'll talk about best practices and how to use it. So we'll start by going into the consent categories page on the left-hand side of the navigation. So you can see under standards, we have consent categories. It's under standards because it's like rules. It's an expectation. It's where we determine what should be approved or not approved across our website. So if I click on it, you'll see I have a couple of consent categories set up here already. And without going too deep, you have some help documentation you can refer to. You have filters that you could apply, and you can see notes if you want to provide some kind of contextual information about this consent category. Labels. You can see cookies, tags, domains, and geos, the number of each of these, and then you can see the audits for this has been specifically applied to. You can also edit from here, copy it, delete it, and then you can view change logs, so you can see if someone else has edited this consent category recently, which may be important if you're trying to govern and kind of lock down these lists, as they're pretty significant. Also note that there are types with consent categories. There are approved and unapproved types. Generally speaking, we're going to recommend approved for those who want the flexibility of unapproved as well. It's there, it's available, but we'll talk today about using approved lists, which we recommend because in the long term, they require less maintenance. So if we dive into this, we're actually going to just look at an example of a GDPR opted out consent category. So I'm going to click on it, and what you'll notice at first is that we have the name here at the top, the type, and we have a list of cookies, tags, request domains, and geolocations. You can search this list, you can modify them, each of these fields, delete, make copies, and then you can add additional cookies here manually. Note that at the top right, you can add other items, so you can add cookies and tags and request domains and geos from an existing audit. We're not going to go through that exercise now, but this is one way to update your list, is to pull in data from one of those audits. A really effective way to build your consent category. Here are tags. Notice that we have tag accounts. We can use specific to tag accounts. This is important because like there are certain tags that will be first party and tags that you own and authorize. And then there could be piggybacking tags or rogue tags that have a different account that you do not own or manage. So having that level of approval here is important. And then request domains and geolocation. So what we're saying here is any request to jpstyle.us from or to jpstyle.us and to the United States, to a server within the United States, is acceptable or approved. And we can obviously get more broad here. One thing to call out too is that you can search for continents. In fact, for GDPR, generally we want this to be confined to European countries. So, and you could be even more specific and say it's only specifically acceptable in the country where I use a proxy. So in the example we'll use today, it might be Germany. So I'm going to go through and go ahead and close this. And in fact, I won't save it, I'll just close it. And then we're going to go ahead and walk through some of the ways you can build consent categories. So the consent category, as you've seen already, is basically a list of approved items, approved cookies, approved tags, domains, and geos. And you are going to be notified, and your reports are going to process the data we collect based on these consent categories. So if I go into creating these lists is important, but then applying them to an audit is the next important step. Note that you can create consent categories for a number of ways. We already showed how you could pull in data from an existing audit, how there's an option there. We also see the option to import cookies from consent management platform. That's what CMP stands for. There's some instructions here and a template you can download and upload to this location. I actually already downloaded a template and filled it out as an example. So you can provide multiple consent categories that you're going to produce. provide a cookie name and a cookie domain. These columns are part of the template, and you're going to fill this out and then upload the file. So I'll actually go ahead and search for that file. Here it is. And then you'll see that it automatically generated, you'll see a preview of the consent categories that will automatically be generated. You can add labels while you're here. You might put GDPR or the consent category that you, or sorry, not the consent category, but the data privacy regulation that is pertinent here. And then you can go ahead and hit save and close, or you can save and assign to data sets. So you may want to go straight to assigning it to a particular audit. In this case, I'll go ahead and close it though. So it did generate those two, and you can see that there are 4 cookies added. Note we didn't import tags. You'll have to do those separately. I recommend going in and adding them from an existing audit. Or if you know that list already of finite tags, you can go ahead and just add them manually here. Okay, you can also create a new consent category from scratch, which makes sense. While creating from scratch, they'll give you the option to reference an audit and pull in data from an audit. And then you can choose, this is where you can determine whether you want to be an approved or unapproved list. All right, next is assigning consent categories. So if you want to assign these in bulk, maybe you have dozens of audits, and you want to apply these a consent category to each one, maybe the strictly necessary list, you can do so and select the audits afterwards in the account and hit done. So that's consent categories, the basics of the configuration side. You can also download these if you wanted to get a list of all of your approved cookies. You can download and export all these lists in a single Excel file. Okay, let's get into the strategy and use case of use of the actual consent categories. So 2 strategies we'll talk about today. One is making sure that you is creating a consent category that is matched to or curated for a particular consent preference. So in this instance, for GDPR opted out, we're going to want to only approve select technologies that are strictly necessary, the ones that are essential across the site. So if you go into our privacy reports and you look at cookies, you'll see we have a number of first-party cookies with a cookie domain of jpstyle.us, the site that we scanned in this example. And then you see some third-party technologies like Vimeo for video playing, YouTube also for video playing, TiliumIQ, and this 207.net cookie. So these ones are marked as unapproved because, according to my definition of strictly necessary, these don't make the cut. So if for some reason though we determined that TiliumIQ or Vimeo was supposed to be on this approved list, if we consulted with those stakeholders within our organization and they said yes, that's strictly necessary, we've checked it with our legal teams, we're all good, go ahead and click add to consent category and select the consent category. Just like that, it's added to your list. Once you add it, it'll invite you to reprocess the consent. It'll invite you to reprocess the consent category, and it's actually quite fast. It should take place in a matter of 20 or 30 seconds. It depends on how long the page is, but very, very fast reprocessing. Okay, so while it's reprocessing, notice that you can quickly filter to the pages if you wanted to investigate more. We could do that. But for now, just know that you can update those consent categories real easily from this list. You can also update them from up here. So if you want to actually pull up the consent category and have it in context while we're looking at the reports, it's here, and you can add or remove things from it, edit it really conveniently. Now, if we go to tags, you'll see that we haven't approved any. I guess we've approved our tag management system. We haven't approved any of these other tags, and that's okay. We may add Google Tag Manager and data layers, since those are generally more functional, essential technologies. But we won't do that in this example. But know that you have, again, a couple of examples, a couple of options of adding this consent category, adding these to a consent category. Now, if I go to request domains and geolocations, we talked about this one already, how this will show where data is being sent to. In this case, we're simulating a visitor from Germany. It looks like all the data is being sent to a location within Germany. If I wanted to add this request URL, same thing, we're just going to click this list. Sorry, not the request URL, but if I want to add this request domain, then we can simply select it and add it. Now, you may decide, though, that you want to have to more broadly approve the country of Germany, in which case you can go into request regions and geos, and you can actually leave this empty, meaning any request being sent to Germany would be acceptable and approved. It'll ask me to reprocess again. Let me go ahead and refresh and see if that's been completed. Yeah, it looks like it has. Like we said, our cookie has been approved. So now if we go into the Vimeo.com cookie, if we go into another use case for consent categories, one of the most powerful ones is just is to govern answer the question, what new technologies or what new cookies or what new tags, request domains, or geolocations are showing up in our data collection. So in this example, I'll use an opted in audit, but we'll keep it pretty simple to be, and it's not necessarily, this example isn't necessarily pertaining to just opted in audits. You might have no consent management platform. You might not even be using ObservePoint for data privacy use cases. You might be just wanting to identify, okay, what are all the new technologies that show up across my site? So this one doesn't have a consent category applied, so I'm going to go ahead and assign one, and I'm actually going to create one, and I'll create a new one, and I will call it all approved items, just to keep it simple. And I will create without selecting a report. Once I grab from here, I'm going to add approved items from an audit, and I'm going to go into the GDPR opted in one. I'm going to pull in the data. So now it's going to offer all the cookies that we're currently seeing in this audit. I'm going to select all very intentionally. I'm going to select all because I want to set a baseline today that of which technologies have been seen and collected and approved, and then I'm going to save that baseline. Now what that means is that once I hit save, this list of approved items, and I need to assign it as well to the audit, so it's all approved items, and we're going to select the audit. Anytime a new technology shows up across this audit and the pages that were scanned in it, I will see those indicated as unapproved items. So we will see this one hasn't run yet. I can reprocess consent categories, and we'll get a report here soon. But as we, what you should see is everything passed today. But moving forward, there it is. Moving forward, you will see any new technology being flagged as unapproved, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad or unapproved technology. It just means that it's new and it needs to be investigated. And assuming it passes all the tests and we decide that we can quickly decide that it's approved, we'll be able to, as soon as it passes all the tests and internal checks, it's not hard to go ahead and approve it within the consent category. And then from now on, it will be set aside as a technology we've identified, we've recognized, and we've approved. So those two use cases are very, very powerful. How to use consent categories to identify new technologies and flag them whenever they surface, and then how to use it to ensure that only the technologies that we have dictated should be present, only the ones that we've authorized are present in the user experience. So if you have any more questions about consent categories, how to use them, leverage them, reach out to our customer success team or support team, and we'd be happy to answer them. Thanks for your feedback as always, and thanks for watching this video.